children may need to get beat down to understand what's going on, and other children, you can talk to them. And so I talk about us being a little bit diverse, a little bit more diverse in terms of how we approach parenting. Challenge 3 is bitter parents. Now this is a good one, at least to me. And this is a good one because there are so many of us who are trying to parent and trying to be a role model for children, but we're not happy about where we are right now. And so that's what this chapter is about. And it can be a little uncomfortable to address, but what I want is for people to really look at this and say, okay, am I trying to live my life through my children? Am I too upset and angry on a daily basis to parent them because I hate my job, I hate my life, I hate the fact that I had kids this young, or whatever the case may be. So this chapter talks about that and how to look at yourself, look internally, and think about how you may be treating your child. If you're bitter and angry on a daily basis, how are you going to set an example, and what influence are you going to have on your children? So again, every chapter has specifics on looking at that and what you can do to try to correct anything that's been done in the past. Challenge 4 is outdated parenting techniques, and that's a little bit about what you were talking about, in terms of there are a lot of folks who their parents did something 40, 50 years ago, and that's just how they handle their children. In terms of spankings, in terms of punishment, in terms of their perspective. But we all know that we're in a new age. If you have a child that doesn't learn how to use a computer, they're never going to be able to use a job or get a job. So I talk about and I try to ingrain some jokes in here because there are things that we all reference, that happened to us growing up. And I joke about it, but then I say, hey, add some new things into the mix when you're raising children. It's important that you look at where the world is today and prepare them for the world today and in the future, instead of just applying what your grandmother did. She sent you outside to pick your own switch. I give examples like that, and it doesn't apply in all cases. Some of those old things you bring with you and they work. Other things you need to update a little bit. Challenge 5 is the lack of a family structure. This is also very important because we have a lot of situations where children never know what to expect from one day to the next. You have environments where they don't know if mom's going to be home, they don't know if dad's going to be home, they don't know if they're going to be at the uncle down the street house. So I give examples of why it's important to have a family structure for your children, and I give some specific things that you can do, very small things. It doesn't mean you have to have a whole lot of money. It means that if every morning you talk to them 5 minutes about school, or every night you read them a little bit of a story, that's all it really takes, And I talk about the impact that has in terms of providing security for the child. That gives them security and stability, which equates into self-esteem. So, I'm sure you're getting a picture of the types of things that I'm talking about. These are things, how people always say you don't have a manual or instruction book on raising kids. Well, this is a start on that. Next is challenge 7, which is blended families. And this is, the stepbrothers, the stepsisters. A lot of us get married. A lot of us get divorced. A lot of us have children without getting married. And this talks about really taking a look at blended families and how it impacts all of us, and how to make better decisions when it comes to that. The example that I give in this book is a man and a woman who both have kids, not together. One has a kid in high school, one has a kid in middle school, and they're just focused on their relationship and their romance, and they're all in love. And then they get to the point where they're about to get married, but they don't even think about how are their kids going to get along. You have a male and a female, that are close in age. One has special needs, one is still mad about their dad. You have those kinds of situations that are so common in our community. We know the percentage of single mothers and single parents, but a lot of times we don't think strategically about what the end result could be by blending two families together. So this talks about that and gives a couple scenarios. Challenge 8 is children having children. And, this was just based on experiences that I've seen, or things that I've seen growing up from childhood to now. You go to some of the urban malls and you see basically babies, strolling babies around, And like I said, this book is a hard look at some of the elements in our culture. It's difficult, And, you know, and many times while I was writing this book, I was uncomfortable. I was mad at myself. I felt like I was talking about us. But you know what? If one of us does not take the time to really look at where we are and be honest, we can't get anywhere. It's nobody else's fault that we have youngsters and teenagers getting pregnant and thinking that it's a fad. It's what's happening in our household that's letting everybody know that's okay. I can have a baby and grandma's going to take care of the baby. Or my mom's going to take care of the baby. No big deal, you know. Or my friend got a baby, so it's okay. I'm only 16, so what? I just put on some cute shoes and keep it moving, you know. So it talks about that mentality. And not only does it talk about trying to prevent that, but it talks about what you can do if you have already been in that situation. There is a future, and you can correct that and move forward.